You need to tell me what really happened in here tonight. Now. You got 5 seconds to tell me what happened.
Open the trunk.
What?
Open the trunk and grab his arms, or I'm hiding 2 bodies.
5,
A number of things about me that you don't know.
4,
Where's the tape, Francis?
3.
I'm telling you, this is the truth.
You want to survive the night? You look them dead in the eyes, and you pretend you're one of them.
Well, hi, Graham. It's nice to meet you.
You too. Hi. Thanks for chatting today.
Yeah, well, thank you, and congratulations on your film. I truly believe you made something so special, and there's not enough films made like yours. And I just wanted to go right off the bat and ask you. You set the film in Chicago, which I read that you're from. Am I correct?
Yep.
Was that a coincidence, or was it just like a no-brainer to set your first directorial debut in Chicago?
It's funny. It actually came from the true story that provided the inspiration for this film. In part of what provided a huge sort of inspiration for me and my co-writer Jonathan was we found out that the first bug that the FBI ever planted was planted in Chicago, Illinois in 1956 inside a tailor shop. And when we read that, we became obsessed. Who was this tailor? Who was the mobsters? We instantly thought this would sort of be a great jumping off point for the sort of white knuckle Hitchcockian thrillers that we both loved so much.
And I think the film takes place all in one location, right? I think all of it. And what went behind that decision? Because I found that so interesting that I noticed about halfway through it was like I don't think we've left the tailor shop.
Yeah, I'm glad it was I'm glad to hear you describe it as a slow realization over the course of the film. I think my most flattering moments have been, I've talked to a couple people who've come out of seeing the movie who said, I didn't realize until the last shot that we'd never left the tailor shop before, that finally we were just there the whole time. It was interesting. The idea of setting it all inside the shop was initially just sort of an experiment in an early draft of the script that we were playing with. We sort of had the story and the character, and we knew what we were doing. And we kind of said, let's just try doing a draft where we never leave the shop and see what happens. And I do a lot of bizarre experiments like that throughout the writing process, many, many more bizarre ones than that. And as soon as we did it, we felt like we got so excited because it felt as if this was something that wasn't a sort of film kind of conceit, but instead this kind of way of bringing us closer to the emotional perspective of our protagonist. The camera should never leave the shop because Leonard, played by Mark Rylance, our main character, he never leaves the shop. He's sort of locked himself away in this space, trying to pretend the outside world doesn't exist as he makes these beautiful clothes. But then, of course, the kind of violence of the outside world keeps knocking on his door, in some cases, literally speaking. And so we love the idea that the conceit of not leaving the shop actually brought the audience closer to his emotional perspective. We only see what he sees, we only hear what he hears, we only go where he goes.
And were there any challenges though with that, filming in one location,
Yeah, I mean, so from a writing perspective, it was great. And then, of course, you have to turn around and actually film it, which gets tricky in some ways. I mean, I think what we tried to do with my wonderful cinematographer, Dick Pope, one of the things we said early on in sort of figuring out how we wanted to shoot it was, let's use the single location constraint, this one big set, not as a hindrance, but what if we look at it as an advantage? What can we do that a more traditional film couldn't do? So part of that was constructing the entire film on a big soundstage so that we could completely control the space from the floor to the ceiling. Every single object, every single stroke of paint on that set was sort of meticulously discussed and planned and built purposefully for every motion of the actors. We got to do rehearsals with the actors on the set itself, so Mark could spend some time in the tailor shop that he was supposed to be inhabiting. On a more traditional film, you're sometimes the painters will be doing the final coat of paint on the wall, all night long, and then you show up with the actors at 7 a.m. to shoot on it. Because we were just in this one space, we got the advantage of lots and lots of time in the preparatory period to play around and try things on set. Something else we could do in terms of process that we couldn't do in a more traditional film was we got to shoot the entire film completely in order. We started at the first scene and just went on through till the last scene at the end of our schedule. And that allowed us, strangely, it allowed us bits of flexibility and improvisation so that we were never locked into something we'd shot the day before. If we were doing something, it was never, there was never a moment where we said, oh, we've already shot the end, so actually you can't do this thing here because we already shot the scene after it, so it would ruin that. If we wanted to change something, we could change it and then make changes to subsequent scenes as we went along. And it's interesting, I think Dick and I did a lot of camera testing to sort of figure out how we wanted to shoot it, how we wanted to photograph the space in a way that would never feel stale, that we could keep the sort of single space interesting for a lot of the film. And so I think we ended up developing a set of photographic principles that really derived from our main character. We wanted to, it's a film about a guy who makes these beautiful clothes. He has this very precise set of aesthetics himself. So we wanted the film to reflect his aesthetics. The whole film should kind of look and feel, so to speak, like one of the suits that he's made.
And you mentioned Mark Rylance, who the last thing I think I saw him in was Don't Look Up, and this is such a drastically different performance. What was it like having him as your lead, and did he teach you anything along the way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I learn from Mark every day. As a first-time director, I can't imagine a better teacher in a class on the craft of screen acting than Mark Rylance. And for me to just get to sit beside him every day and watch him sort of craft this performance and figure out how to sort of build the performance with him. He's great, and he's so collaborative. Mark, much like the character he plays, is so detail focused. Mark knows would know the contents of every drawer in every cabinet on set, and he could open them and tell you where every thimble was, where every different kind of needle was. Every detail really matters to him. He's, at the same time, it felt like, I think because it was my first film as a director and I did not necessarily have a set way of working, I went to him very early on, long before we were shooting, probably a year before we were shooting. I called him and I said, what do you like on a set? What don't you like on a set? How do you like to work? What helps you do your best work? And what really stops you, do you think, from doing your best work? So that I can design you an environment where you feel like you're doing your best. And he had a lot of really great suggestions for sort of from practical things about scheduling to really sort of mundane, finicky things about who calls action, when action is called, where everybody is, where action is called. I remember one of the first things he said to me was, he's worked with directors before who kind of hide in Video Village by the monitors 100 feet from set. And he said, please don't do that. Can you get a portable monitor and just be next to me, be right there with me every take, every shot? And I said, of course, gosh, it'll be my privilege to get to do that. So my shoulder started hurting at some point because I had one of those sort of shoulder mounted portable monitors instead of the big one. So I'm kind of, if you look at the movie, I'm like a few feet out of frame near Mark for basically every shot, which was great because it means, when he's done, we do a take, I say cut, we can just sort of talking about it right there. And, oh, what I could do is I could do this or blah, 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 let's do this. And we could just sort of play around, and it made the whole thing so much more terrifically collaborative.
And what did make you want to jump from, writing to directing? It's such a jump.
Yeah, I think for me, it felt as if I loved the story so much. I loved the film so much. It felt so dear to my heart. It was a story that meant so much to me. And it was small, and it felt like something, it was a small budget. It felt like the sort of size of thing that might be manageable. And it felt like I owed it to the material to try making it myself, that rather than saying, hey, I wrote this script and I believe it could be a really great film, and handing, those 100 sheets of paper over to someone else and saying, hey, can you please make this script into a film for me because I don't know how, shouldn't I put my money where my mouth is? And if I'm telling everyone that I think this script could be made into a great film, shouldn't I take the responsibility myself for learning to make the film myself? And it was great. I think it meant a lot to me to have so many kind of great collaborators who I'd worked with before, amazing department heads, these terrific craftspeople come on and say, yes, we trust you to do this. We know what you're doing. I see the Heat poster behind you on the wall, and Billy Goldenberg, my editor, edited Heat, and it's one of my favorite films. And so getting to have, and Billy had worked with me on Imitation Game, and then when he was the first one of the first people when I started talking about directing this to say, he said to me, yes, you should direct it, and I'll come and I'll edit it, and I can help you, and I trust you, and you know what you're doing. And that meant the world to me. It was funny, actually. There was one time when we were the only time when we were editing the movie that he pulled rank on me was we were editing the scene where Mark Rylance and Dylan O'Brien are on the two chairs, and they're having this long conversation sort of back and forth. It's like 10 pages of scripted, just the two of them in the chairs. And I was suggesting sort of doing one sort of cut, and Billy was saying something else, and we were kind of debating it. And Billy just said, when I was editing the diner scene in Heat, the way I thought about it was blah, blah, blah. And I finally said, all right, fine, you win. We'll do it your way. You're allowed to pull rank over the diner scene in Heat.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. I'm all out of time with you. Thank you so much for talking with me, and good luck on the rest, on the future films.
Thanks so much. I appreciate
You
it.
need to tell me what really happened in here tonight. Now.
You've been all over the world. You could have a shop anywhere you like, and yet you're here.
It doesn't terribly much matter where I am. I have my shears.
What else does a man need besides his shears?
This isn't art. This is a craft. You cannot make something good until you understand the customer.
Do we let all of our customers keep black boxes and back?
If we only allowed angels to be customers, soon we'd have no customers at all. Please, sirs, I don't want any trouble.
I need you to listen carefully. There are 1,000 blue boys out there hunting for this. And if they find it, I start shooting. You follow? Making matters worse, there are 1,000 racket boys hunting for it too. And if they find it, they start shooting. You follow?
Don't want to be involved in whatever it is you do.
You know exactly what it is that we do.
Whoa, full house tonight, huh?
Have you ever heard of The Outfit?
The outfit.
It's a network of every big-time crew from Santa Monica to Coney Island. And tonight, they've sent us a message. They're hiding something, my friend.
I'm gonna need that tape, pal, right now.
Why don't you try and take it? Gentlemen.
It's gonna be a long night.
Sew him up.
What? I can't.
Sew him up.
You need to tell me what really happened in here tonight. Now. You got 5 seconds to tell me what happened.
Open the trunk.
What?
Open the trunk and grab his arms, or I'm hiding 2 bodies.
5,
A number of things about me that you don't know.
4,
Where's the tape, Francis?
3.
I'm telling you the truth.
You want to survive the night? You look them dead in the eyes, and you pretend you're one of them.